Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So here's another deck profile for you guys today. This time it's on Yubel. So I've been dabbling with the Yubel deck a little bit more simply because I found a build that caught my attention that uses very minimal Fiendsmith cards. Really, it's just going to be focusing on the extra deck, by the way. So I'm not playing any Engraver, I'm not playing any Tract, none of that. And I actually found a build that works, surprisingly enough. Now, the main difference between my build and the one I saw is that that build that I saw was very heavy on the Unchained cards, where this one is not. So, and yeah, I tried it his way and there were some major inconsistencies. So I decided to kind of just adjust it to more my style, and I've actually found a way to make it work. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. So let's go and get started. All right, so the main deck is 41 cards rather. I had to cut a few cards because I realized if I kept pushing past the 40 card mark, at least too far enough, it starts to become pretty bricky, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. So anyway, starting off with 3 copies of Spirit of Yubel, definitely one of the best cards in the deck. If it's destroyed, you can special summon the OG Yubel, not once per turn by the way, and it can set any spell or trap that lists Yubel in its text, and of course it has to list the original Yubel specifically. Speaking of which, playing the 1 copy of the OG Yubel and Terra Incarnate. I'm not running Ultimate Nightmare. You still can if you want to, but for this build I had to cut it because again I didn't want to go too far past the 40 card mark, and I thought 41 was just enough, just barely. And yeah, honestly you should be able to make do with just these 2 because you can easily cycle them back. Alright, moving on. 3 copies of Samsara D Lotus, definitely one of your main key starters, simply because you contribute this off to special summon Spirit of Yubel, and if you control a Yubel monster, you contribute itself to basically make it so your opponent pops a Yubel monster. And also it does have a recycling effect where if you control the OG Yubel, you can either add it back to your hand or special summon it. So yeah, Samsara D Lotus just has so much great utility. Next up, 2 copies of Gruesome Grey Swarmer. Wanted to play 3, but again I had to make room for some other cards. But you could still play this at 3 if you wanted to, and it's a fantastic card overall. But basically it's an extender. It does the effect to pop a Yubel card is optional, but as long as you control Fiend, yeah, you can just basically special summon this card, and it just helps you link climb even further. And it also has a neat Monster Reborn effect for any Fiend monster that has 0 attack and defense. So yeah, definitely one of the best cards. Next up, 3 copies of Dark Beckoning Beast. We all know why this card's so good. It's basically a double summon for your Fiends, and also that it's easy to access with cards like Opening of the Spirit Gates. I am also on the 1 Chaos Summoning Beast. At first I was wondering why people were on this, but you know what? I understand, because if you're playing 3 and 3 for the ratios for Dark and Opening, then having 1 final target is always nice. Plus it's easy discard fodder too, so that can be pretty relevant later on. For the Unchained monsters, I'm playing the 1 Soul of Shivara and of course the 1 Soul of Shyama. Now Shyama, funny enough, I don't usually search this off of Yama whatsoever. I mostly just send this off of Aerial Leader, which I'm going to elaborate the combo with this in a moment. But the reason this is here is because it's at level 6 and it can bring itself back from the grave. Now Shivara is a level 6 too, but here's the real downside. For the combo I'm trying to go for, it doesn't really work as well as you think, because this does technically lock you into Fiends while it's on the field. So you definitely want to use this one as your link material. Plus it sets you any 1 Unchained spell or trap directly from your deck. So yeah, that's the whole purpose behind it. But Shyama is also pretty neat because it is a MSTs as well. So yeah, Shyama definitely has a lot of great utility. But yeah, that rounds up our main line of monsters. Let's go ahead and move on to the hand traps. For hand traps, it's basically the same general line. 3 copies of Ash Blossom, and now that Fiendsmiths are a thing, gotta play 3 copies of Troll and Lockbird, and 3 copies of Emperor. I feel like these are the best hand traps right now, given that now that Infinite Forbidden's out, everyone's on Fiendsmiths in some variation, and yeah, they just come up a lot. Alright, so for the spells, I'm playing 3 copies of Nightmare Throne. You might as well say 4 because of Terraforming, but basically gets you access to any one of your Fiends with 0 attack and defense, or you can just pop a Yubel monster from your deck too. So yeah, it comes up. Next, 3 copies of Opening of the Spirit Gates. This card's pretty nuts because it gets you access to your Dark Beckoning Beast. Plus, it recycles your continuous spell, so if something gets popped, you can just bring it right back by discarding a card for cost. And it's a Monster Reborn as well for any Fiend with 0 attack and defense. So yeah, Opening is so crazy. Next up, 2 copies of Nightmare Pain. I was on 3 before, but I decided to cut it down to 2, simply because like it's one of those cards you'd rather just search rather than just hard open, unless you actually have a Fiend to pop. Which, yeah, that's basically the idea with it. It's basically what's that card? Dragonic Diagram, but in a continuous spell. You can pop a Dark Fiend or Dark Monster in your hand or on the field to search out a Yubel or one card that mentions it. And yeah, that's pretty nuts because it basically triggers off your effects. And what's really neat about this card is that it basically enables the OTK with Yubel, because even though they don't have any attack and defense points, Nightmare Pain basically rebounds any damage you would have taken to your opponent. So yeah, I definitely love what this card can do. 2 Triple T and 1 Called by the Grave. I'm hoping we get this back at 2 on the next ban list, but we'll just have to wait and see. 1 for 1, and then for my trap lineup, 1 Eternal Favorite. It's searchable. 1 Abominable Chamber of the Unchained, and 1 Escape of the Unchained. The reason I'm on 2 different Unchained traps is because like there have been instances where I open 1 and I don't get the value off of Shavara, so I just like to have the option to have that additional target from my deck, Alright, now for the extra deck, I'm playing 2 copies of Phantom Yubel. You definitely want to try and make this as early as possible, especially because like you want to be able to play around Nibiru. Like some decks mained it, some don't, but you just want to be willfully prepared for that. And again, it's pretty easy to make. You just shuffle back any Yubel monster plus 1 monster with 0 attack and defense. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. 1 Loving Defender Forever. This is optional too, but if you're not going to be playing this, then you will probably want to play 3 Phantoms. But I think 2 and 1 is perfectly fine. 1 Aerial Leader. Basically, you can make this off of Fiendsmith's sequence, and from there you basically use this effect to dump any Fiend monster from your deck to your grave, and that's why I play Shayama, because this card, funny enough, is actually a level 6 monster, and that's important because you basically want to try to make any rank 6 of your choice. If you want to go for Beatrice, you can go for that. You can go for High King Caesar, you can go for that as well. But the one I decided to go for was Evulsar Lars, and the reason I went with Lars is because it's basically an Omni Negate, and Omni Negates are kind of harder to come by nowadays. But basically you detach 2 materials, target 1 face-up card your opponent controls, and negate its effects until the end of this turn. And again, that's pretty important because like if you disrupt them with something and they try to triple T you, this is a way to play around triple T. So again, Lars is the one I chose, but if you want to stick with High King Caesar, go for it. If not, go for the Beatrice line. But if you're gonna go for Beatrice, I would probably advise playing a card like Farfa in your main deck. And again, it's really up to you. I'm just personally dabbling with what I felt like was the best card. And of course, you gotta play the 1 Verudras. This card's pretty cool too. It's also an Omni Negate, funny enough. And yeah, it's pretty big. Now for my Link lineup, I am playing the Moon of the Closed Heaven. This card's pretty crazy. It requires any 2 effect monsters, but what makes this card really relevant is the fact that it's a light and a Fiend monster, which you do need to go into Fiendsmith sequence. And this basically makes Aerial Eater for me. Funny enough, this can make Living Defender Forever as well. So you can special summon or fusion summon 1 Fiend monster from your extra deck using materials from your graveyard by shuffling them back into your deck. So that's the whole main reason of sequences in here. And again, it just requires any 2 monsters, including a light Fiend, and that's where Closed World or Closed Heaven comes into play. All right, next up, 1 Unchained Soul Lord of Yama. Still going to be playing this line, of course, as well as the 1 Rage. Next, I'm playing the 1 Almirage, 1 SP Little Knight, which thankfully is getting a reprint very soon, so definitely hang on. Definitely just wait out a little longer. 1 Mudcracker, 1 Nightmare Griffin. If you don't want to play Griffin, you can play Cross Sheep. I decided to try the Griffin out because I think having the Griffin lock is pretty funny. And again, it just recycles your back row too, so yeah. And of course, to round it out, 1 copy of Appaloosa. Pretty easy to make. Usually after I'm done with the Fiendsmith, the sequence play, I just use whatever materials I have available, go into Appaloosa, and then, yeah, I basically have a pretty massive board from there. Great. So now moving on to the side deck. The side deck is exactly the way I had it before, 3 nibs, which I'm actually considering cutting for Winged Dragon Raw Sphere mode, because there are ways to kind of play around nib more so now, especially in this format, but I still haven't fully decided on that. But I still like it for what it is. 3 Deity Croak is just how versatile it is. 3 Droplet, definitely one of my favorite spells of all time. 2 Lightning Storm, which I might swap these out for Cosmic Cyclones. And of course the Harpy's Feather Duster. And finally 3 copies of Skill Drain. The synergy here is that, yeah, your Yubels basically lose the ability to to be immune to being destroyed by battle. But here's the deal. If you have like Nightmare Paint out, you still don't take any damage, and your opponent gets the damage. Plus, when they are destroyed, they don't have to be destroyed by card effect, just letting you guys know that now. You can still special summon out one of the other Yubel monsters, so that's kind of where the skill drain play comes in. And if you need to, you can always get rid of it later with Forbidden Droplet, so yeah, it's just a little funny tech to play. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will catch you guys again next time.